Do you think that the 60s were they a big influence on you? I mean, are you a child of the 60s?
What do you think? I mean, sort of, render unto me a break, like it's like, you know, obviously, I do have a very soft spot for the 60s. That probably colours my judgment of the 60s. But, trying to be as impartial as I can be, I think that they were a very important decade. A lot of it ended disastrously, you know, it has to be said. But the kind of thinking seems to me important. It has coloured most of the world since then.
The 60s dream lives on in his latest comic, Promethea. It's a rich mix of magic and science fiction, and it pushes the idea that imagination and fantasy are the only way to save humanity.
Fantasy and psychedelic drugs are often held up as being, say, prime avenues of escapism. To me, it's just the opposite. That fantasy enables you to look at the real situation through a different lens. Fantasy is incredibly important. I think it's incredibly central to the entire human experience. This is not some frivolous, sort of light, decorative thing.
The serious side of fantasy even appeared in Doctor Who. Planet of the Spiders slips in then fashionable ideas of Eastern mysticism.
The last person we saw, Planet of the Spiders, it's a Buddhist parable, and again I was watching it recently, and I thought, this is extraordinary. This is not the worst witch. This is incredible. The Doctor's overweening arrogance and desire to know leads him to an ultimate confrontation with a spider called the Great One, who represents his ego, and it's plainly stated, you know, I am the great me and all these things, and I just thought, this is fantastic. I think it's almost the fact that the BBC always regarded it with faint suspicion and contempt that allowed them to get away with what they did.